All right. So this is probably one you maybe have heard of or you might already know. But I was just working with a client on it and I was like, you know what? Let me record it for the brethren. So attachment styles, this is not coming out of my research by any means. This is coming out of pretty well-known psychology, the attachment style. But I do think it is so important in when we're thinking about how we grow, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, financially, intellectually, and socially, relationally. Um, I do think it is so important to consider the attachment style. It is something that explains a lot of behaviors. You've probably heard it thrown around dismissive, avoidant, anxious, all these things, right? So I just want to briefly go over it so that you have it. Okay. So attachment, what it is literally how we bond as humans. And the most recent science, the most recent research has said that we actually start this process in the womb. Okay, so energy, emotions can transfer from mother to baby. And so I am sure if you know anyone who's pregnant or you've been pregnant or, you've been around any pregnant people, they can tell you pregnant get pregnant, just women, pregnant women, they will tell you that if they are anxious, the baby might be more anxious, right? That's kind of standard. And so this kind of attachment forms a lot in ages 0 to 7, starting in the womb, coming out of the womb. Ages 1 and 2 has a lot to do with how close physically the newborn, the infant, is to the parents. Skin to skin contact is extremely important, right? Because that whole let them cry it out thing, you're forming insecure attachments doing that, okay? Because babies do not have nervous system regulation ability. So the parent is supposed to hold the child close to help them nervously regulate their nervous system. Okay. So this whole process of attachment starts before you're cognitive. Okay. This starts in 0 to 7. And I say before you're cognitive because it's not that you're not learning. I mean, you're learning rapidly from 0 to 7, but you're learning subconsciously. Okay. You're learning on your theta brainwave. And your theta brainwave, it bypasses the conscious mind. So from 0 to 7, children are extraordinarily influenced and impressionable because the data they're understanding about the world goes right from the world into their subconscious. Okay. And so that is because their conscious mind is not online to filter it out. And that is again the sort of neuroscience behind it. And after 7 years old, we only really get into theta state 2 times a day. One, when we're going from wake to sleep, and two, when we're going from sleep to wake, right? It's those liminal stages. And if you have never done any exploration of your life from 0 to 7, from 7 to 14, or from 14 to 21, so ages 0 to 21, your youth and adolescence, and teenage and adult, pre-adult, tiny adult years, you want to. Because if you haven't, all your wounds, all your subconscious programming, all your unrenewed mindset, that is all in there. And I guarantee, virtually guarantee, you are functioning out of it. Right. And so attachment starts very, very young. And where it shows up is in our relationships, our romantic relationships, our friendships, our familial relationships, even sometimes our business associations. So it's all about how we find, keep, and end relationships. It's a very relational concept. And so if you have insecure attachment styles, you are likely going to have very rocky bonds with the brethren. You're probably going to have a lot of people wounds. You're probably going to have a lot of unstable relationships. So if that sounds like you and you are interested and you've never heard of this topic, then hang out. So there are four styles of attachment, okay? And three of them are not productive. Three of them are insecurely attached, okay? The secure style is what we're all going for, okay? And we'll talk about it. Most men are dismissive avoidant, okay? Men like to avoid things. That doesn't mean that it can't be the other way around, but that's usually men tend to be DAs, dismissive avoidance. Women, a lot of times, tend to be anxious, preoccupied. They're clingy. They're trying to attach harder. Men are trying to avoid greater. And we'll talk about that. But then you have the special brand of both, which is the fearful avoidant, the disorganized style. The dismissive plus anxious equals fearful. And that's sort of a push-pull within yourself. I think a lot about a cat, right? A cat is like, hey, I want you to love me. And then you love them and they're like, nah, I'm out. Right? Like that's that. And again, I have that attachment style myself. So I can tell you it is very disorganized. It's very messy. Um, in my romantic partnership, oh, speaking of my cat, but in other relationships, it's very secure. Why? Well, secure attachments mean that you're very confident in yourself. You're very confident in the relationships you're entering into. You're confident in the other person. And so when you have built a lot of self-confidence on strong and true components of yourself, self-aware type things. You're not falsely confident, okay? You're truly confident in who you are. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at. You're not losing yourself in others any longer. Okay, that's a big thing that happens. We'll talk about. You're not overstretching or not putting up boundaries, right? You're just secure. You're just confident. You're just like, okay, this is me. This is what I have. When you are in that space, you can be connected and feel safe. You can be trusting of other people and feel good about it. And you're very comfortable in your place in the world and how you show up in it. And because you know yourself well, you're pretty good at interdependence, right? Here's what I've got. Here's what you've got. Here's where we come together. Here's where we retain our individual properties. Here's where we mix. Interdependent. That's the goal. We want to get to interdependence. And you can tell a hallmark of this is love and support. Okay. Securely attached people, secure attachment. There's a lot of love and support there. It's very open. It's very vulnerable. It's okay with being intimate, right? It's very easy to be with each other. It's like you enjoy each other's time. This is unfortunately sort of rare, I find. Most people are not securely attached, unfortunately. Most people are still functioning out of traumatic experiences, unhealed wounds, unrenewed mindsets, cognitive distortions, negative thought patterns, cognitive biases, habits that are bad patterns of behavior. Um, Insecure identity, low self-worth. So when you have secure attachment, you have high self-worth, you have a high self-awareness, you have an regulated emotional system. And most people don't have any of those, let alone all of them. So more people tend to fall into the dismissive avoidant category, especially my men, but also women. And it comes to this place where you feel like you can't trust anybody. So therefore you kind of avoid being close to people. You can't trust them. You're waiting for the shoe to drop. You're waiting for, the problem to come. You need to be in control of everything. You have to do all the stuff. You're the one. And a lot of people wear it as like a badge of honor. I did. I did. I was like, I don't need anybody. I'm fine. I've got this. When I was for anybody who doesn't know my story or some parts of my story anyway, I was arrested 7 years ago and the story blew up. My mugshot went viral from California to Australia. Okay. You still look it up, see what I did. I sent a picture. Okay. Um, what ended up happening was outside of just mortification, public humiliation, just afraid to walk outside. The police published my address. Like I was so scared to be alive, honestly, and so ashamed to be alive. Like just mortified to exist. I checked myself into therapy because otherwise I wasn't making it out alive. And in therapy, I had a wonderful cognitive behavioral therapist, probably helped save my life. And she was like, "How you doing today?" in one of our sessions. And I was like, "I'm fine." And she was like, "Michelina, I read about you on the news this morning. Like, you're not fine." And I was like, "I don't know what to tell you." I wasn't laughing, actually. I was not at all. But I was like, "I don't know what to tell you. I'm fine." And she was like, "Okay." And she handed me a sheet of paper. I've told this story before. You might know it. And she's like, "What are you?" And I looked at the paper and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm mortified. I'm humiliated. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. I'm scared. I'm confused. I'm upset. I'm hurt." And just every negative face I had. And what it was I was emotionally repressed. Okay. Not emotionally independent, not so look at me. I don't need any emotional regulation, right? I don't even have emotions. I never cry, right? That's the dismissive, avoidant tendency. They're like proud of themselves for never crying. And it's like, yeah, that's weird because you're a human and humans cry. You know what babies come out of the womb doing? Breathing and crying. And once you feed them, poop it. Okay? So you're being subhuman right now. Stop it. And that I had to work on that. I had to work on that. And it was hard, honestly. Um, it was hard because I was like, well, when you show emotions, you're weak. And when you are vulnerable, people can hurt you. And yeah, that's true, but that's also needed for connection and secure attachment, right? So the emotionally independent, i.e., the emotionally repressed, usually, they will sometimes actively avoid intimate situations, vulnerability, right? Sharing what they think or feel, allowing themselves to think or feel things. That was me. I like didn't even allow myself to acknowledge that things were hard because otherwise I wouldn't get through them, right? I'm like, if this is so hard, I can't get through it. I'm never going to get through it. That was something I started when I was a kid, 8, 9, 10 years old. I was like, if this is too hard, I'm not going to survive it. So nothing's that hard. I can do it. And so, you get a lot of dismissive avoidants who do sort of the opposite of what they feel. I have dated people in the past, someone especially who was very dismissive, and that person, we would have like this beautiful date. We had like a great time. We were just like vibing. It was wonderful. And we'd been talking for some months, and they would purposely do something to upset me, so I pushed them away because in their mind it was not safe for us to be getting along so well because when's the shoe gonna drop? This can't be that good. This person used to say to me, I was like, "Do you like that?" Whatever it was. Like I was like giving him a massage on his shoulder or something. And I was like, "Do you like that?" And he's like, "Yeah, almost too much." And it's like, why almost too much? Like, what do you mean? It's not, what do you mean? It's not gonna run out, but that's how dismissive avoidance will show up in life. They're afraid to feel, to enjoy, to trust people, to grow dependent on something. Because what happens when it's taken away? And how am I going to survive that? So the dismissive we see a lot in men, right? It's why we have a lot of distractions in men. We have so many, they'll watch football, they will go to work, they will do the lawn, they will drink, smoke, have sex, gamble. They will do anything other than have a difficult conversation, right? Dismissive. Then you've got the flip side of it, and you've got anxious, preoccupied. And these are usually your women, right? This is clingy stuff. This is pay attention to me, 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 pay attention to me. The dismissive is like, don't pay attention to me. I don't want to talk to you about this. The avoidant or the anxious is like, please, can we talk about this? Like, can we please talk about this? Can we please talk about this? And you see this a lot. Women will be anxious. They'll crave the intimacy. They'll crave the validation. They will need you to show up. And when they don't get that, they're anxious and they're craving it. So they want it. So they want to pull you in. And then the avoidant, who does not want to be pulled in, will push away. And once he goes, well, that person, usually he goes, then she's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, wait, I actually kind of liked you. Can I come back? Right? And we get this really awkward push-pull dynamic. And so this craving of intimacy is a lot of times what causes women to just kind of give their bodies away because they feel like giving their body away is a way to be intimate. They know the men appreciate it, they might enjoy it, but they do it before they're even really comfortable or safe within themselves to do so, a lot of times. So often, people are just giving their sex away, not valuing it at all. I've been there, I've done that. Again, anybody who knows my story knows I've done things like that and had things like that taken from me, as well, that I wasn't ready to give away. So the anxious, preoccupied, they are very much wanting closeness, so much closeness. Smother me in love and affection, right? And so you have the avoidant that's like over here. You've got the anxious that's like here. You've got the secure that is here. Then you have the mix, which is the fearful avoidant. Very confused style and does both. So sometimes they want you all up on them, love me. And other times it's like, get away from me, get away, get away, get away. Right? And so it's a push pull within themselves. The fearful avoidant has both tendencies, but within themselves. So that push-pull dynamic is going on in them versus if you have a dismissive avoidant male, let's say, and an anxious preoccupied female, it's a dynamic that goes on between the two of them. But like as an example for myself, when I fall into this category, I will say, hey, like, can you love me? And if they don't do it, I'm like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. I'm fine. I don't need it. I want that emotional closeness. I want that validation. I want your attention and affection, but you didn't give it to me on my terms, and therefore, no, I don't. Thank you. Walk right away. And so it's a very hard place to be in when you're a fearful avoidant because you do want and desire closeness, and you do not trust anyone to give it to you. You do have feelings that you do not express or that you don't even allow yourself, right? That was me for many years. I denied my feelings. And I also find part of the fearful avoidant. So if you are someone that has borderline personality disorder, I am diagnosed with that. The Lord has done a good work in me to come to help me come through that because there's no real cure for that. So he sealed up a lot of wounds, and I can only credit him with that. But that that splitting that happens in BPD, where it's like, you're my favorite person, and then it's like, get away from me. I don't want anything to do with you. That also mirrors that fearful avoidant. And so what ends up happening a lot of times, how that sort of comes out in real time is that the fearful avoidant is very possessive. Very possessive. This is my stuff. This is my spot. This is my thing. This is my pillow. This is mine, 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 because it makes them feel safe. Like, don't touch it. It's mine, belongs to me. Thank you. Um, if you're wondering why I do that so well, it's because I struggle with that. I'm not a great sharer. I never have been. And like I said, I say this all the time on my minister channel. If you want to learn from somebody who's never been through it and doesn't struggle with it, don't come to me. Okay, go elsewhere because I am not the one. I have struggled with everything I teach you. I have struggled with more than you probably ever will. Promise. Okay, because you probably didn't have to hit rock bottom in your life and lose everything to learn this stuff. I did. Okay, so it is my pleasure to try to help you learn it as well. If you've made it this far, I hope this is really helping you out. So, the fearful avoidant is a tough style, right? And so, if you are somebody who is fearful avoidant, then you definitely will have a lot of emotional regulation work to do. I don't know how you move through this without therapy. As someone who has been in plenty of therapy stints for the last decade, it does help. It really does help. Um, and if you do think you're struggling with something that is personality based, I would say DBT is a good option. But yeah, so this is just the overview of the attachment styles. Now, I like to bring up the nervous system responses kind of as we talk about attachment styles because they're so similar. The flight response is very much like the dismissive avoidant response, right? So the nervous system is how we show up when there's conflict. And so when you have a pattern of flight behavior, you probably also have a pattern of dismissive avoidant tendency. They just go hand in hand. If you have some sort of fight or fawn, you probably have that anxious preoccupied, right? The freeze and the flight tend to be more dismissive, and the fight and the fawn tend to be more along the lines of anxious. And all of them tend to be the fearful avoidant. And so when if you if you want to know, have Michelina, have you struggled with every single one of these? Yeah, absolutely. With the exception of the hard time making decisions. I tend to not have a hard time making decisions. Other than that, though, I have struggled with every single one of these and still do have some of these. Specifically, I would say explosive is one that I struggle with. I know you guys probably don't see it. I tend to quarantine myself. I've gotten better at it over the years, but explosive is one, and I've always struggled with that. When I was a kid, you could ask my mom, you could ask my sister, you could ask my brother. If I couldn't understand something or make something happen, i.e., I couldn't play my flute correctly, or I couldn't brush my hair without it tangling, or I couldn't beat a level on like a video game, the remote, the flute, the brush, they're getting chucked across the room. Now, that is a fact, okay? That is a fact. And some of that has to do with impulse control. Like I said, I've borderline personality disorder, something you have your whole life. And so I didn't get diagnosed with it until I was 33 years old, but I had it since I was 3 years old. So I was 30 years undiagnosed. Again, we don't want to over identify with our diagnoses, but we do want to be aware of them so we can work on them, right? And so I mean, I don't know if you guys are interested at all in that story, but I will just say I had done so much work. I mean, I had done 4 years of really intensive work, and I went to the Lord and I was like, God, I don't understand. What is wrong with me? Like, what is still wrong with me? Like, I've done all this work on figuring out that, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. And then I come to the point where I'm like, holy crap, there's actually something certifiably wrong with my emotional state. I feel like there's 1,000 live wires in my body at any given time. I can't control my high highs, my low lows. Like, what is going on here? And I promise you, I kid you not, the next day I'm on YouTube and borderline personality disorder rolls down the page. I have never in my life at that point heard about this. And I was like, huh, what's this? And I look and I have every single nine. There are nine like major symptoms. And if you have like five of them, I had all of them. All of them. All of them. And so, and that was tough. I mean, that was also mortifying. I was like, oh my God, there's something clinically wrong with me here. This is unfortunate. And I did. I kind of hid away from it for a couple months. I was like, I don't want to look at this. I don't want to deal with this. Like, I've done a lot of work already. Like, I still have this stuff to go. And then And then we just check ourselves in and say, hey, I think I've got this. What do you think? And they'd like test me and they're like, yeah, yes, you do. And I was like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? How do we fix this? It's like, well, we don't fix it. I was like, ah, great. Love it. Mm. But no, so we can do the best we can to regulate it. So I will say, I mean, there's just some things you're not escaping from being human. You will still have nervous system responses even as you move through life and you do all the healing work and every modality, you still might have some tendencies that crop up, okay? Nobody's perfect. No such thing. And that is hard when you are a perfectionist, you have OCD, you're an overthinker, you're a workaholic, like those things, very hard. Most people, I find, especially my women, people pleaser, lack of identity, no boundaries, overwhelmed, and codependent. We are breeding a society of those. Everybody is a fawner. We're breeding a society of fawners. That, by the way, is what got me a felony. People pleasing, lack of identity, no boundaries, overwhelmed, codependent. And it is a serious thing. And it's why so many people make decisions and they're like, wait, why did I do that thing? And I do. I talk to people about this all the time. Okay. All the time. Helped so many people through these things. So the nervous system responses that are in you that do need to be regulated. I highly suggest Dr. Nicole LaPera's work for this kind of a interest level. Like if you're like, wow, all this is hitting, go check out Dr. Nicole LaPera. Okay, she's wonderful. She's got an Instagram that's super helpful. She's got books. Like I really value her work. I don't necessarily agree with her lifestyle choices, but also not my business. Okay. So if you are somebody who is a Christian that follows me and you want to try to judge her, I would highly suggest not doing that. Okay. Because who are you? And we're not going to devalue her excellent work just because of the way she wants to live. That's her job. That's her life. Okay. So just, I don't know. I've got a mixed audience, maybe. Just going to throw that out there. So, nervous system responses. And these things are questions that you can consider. Specifically, it is, I think, easier a lot of times to kind of think about partners if you have a partner. A lot of the deep wounds come out with our partners. They come out with our partners because that's where the attachment styles really show up in the kind of person you're picking. So if you are someone who's anxious, you will very often attract avoidance. Once you get secure, those kind of behaviors will probably not be very interesting to you. You'll be like, I don't really want somebody who runs at the sign of conflict, right? Now, as far as people who I value so much for their work on this, I also highly suggest Dr. Sarah Hensley. If you have a TikTok, she has been researching the science of attraction and attachment styles for 15 years. She is great. Okay. Love her work. And again, this is all research and work that is not my field of excellence. Like my field is leadership, but the things that it takes to be a good leader, the things that it takes to build your character, to understand your personality, to cultivate your identity, are these sort of psychological tools, the mindset work, the emotional work, the spiritual work, honestly. So that's why on this doctor channel, I do my best to present a lot of different modalities and a lot of different information because it all matters to cultivating good leadership. And leadership's my game, fam. Okay, that's what I'm a doctor in, is leadership. That's what I wrote my dissertation on. So I'm not pretending to be a psychologist. I'm not. Yes, I've gotten psychology backgrounds. I've done a lot of psychological work, but that is not my expertise. So I will refer you, if you are interested in this kind of healing and this kind of work, go to the people who are experts on it. And those are two that I particularly like. But yes, so these things are just things to consider when we're trying to cultivate renewed minds and healed hearts and more holistic beings so that we can be better authentic steward leaders, guys. So hopefully you're liking, I'm just kind of right now going through my library of coaching stuff and just wanting to present it to you in teaching format. I've got a lot of coaching resources from the last 5 years that I just feel I would be better served if I just recorded some of these things and put them up for you guys so that you don't actually have to, go through the one-on-one process. Obviously, I'm always taking clients. So if it's something that you feel you do have specific things you want to work through, go to my selfandstoryanalyst.com page because that is where I have just kind of all the things I offer as a transformation and leadership coach, a self and story analyst. Um, I will help you learn more about you so you can lead from a space that is more authentic to you. So that's what we're doing here. I hope that you're liking just kind of this mishmash of things. And those of you who've been waiting a while for me to post again, I appreciate your loyalty, your faithfulness. And if you guys are liking this, then I will keep bringing these things to you. And if you have other kind of specific topics you're interested in, let me know, and I can do my best to try to help you learn more about it. I'll see you guys on the next video.